Death, escape, and self-mutilation were as common as the hot Texas sun. J. L. Wilkinson, Texas prisoner in 1900, wrote, "I have known men to inflict personal injury upon themselves in order to get off the farms." The scene, as the one shown here, dotted the Texas countryside. You see, this is not what was envisioned when the prison system was first created. As a matter of fact, it was a stark contrast. Prior to 1849, all convicted prisoners were housed in the local and county jails. The counties assumed the responsibility for providing and maintaining for the general welfare of prisoners. When the Texas legislature decided that it would assume responsibility, its intent was to provide a stable environment that met basic physical needs. The first state prison was constructed in Huntsville in 1848. In 1853, a cotton mill was constructed in the Huntsville unit, with the intent of providing a system that will allow the prison to be self-sustaining financially while providing labor to inmates to aid in their moral reformation. In the beginning, things were going well for the new prison in Huntsville. The mill was turning a profit by providing slave clothing that was purchased by slave owners. Texas legislators were happy that little public money had to be used to operate the prison. When the Civil War broke out in 1861, the little prison in Huntsville played a critical role. It provided most of the Confederate Army with uniforms, in addition to still producing slaveware. By 1863, the prison mill made a profit of over $800,000. Unfortunately for Texas, it was paid in Confederate money, so at the war's end, the state found itself with an empty bank. Now faced with the rising prison population and overcrowding, the state was forced to lease out its prisoners. The first lease in Texas history occurred in 1867. As long as contractors were willing to assume responsibility for Texas prisoners, it was willing to overlook reports of prisoner abuse. This may be a typical welcoming party.
Rule number 1, no blasphemy. I'll not have the Lord's name taken in vain in my prison. The other rules, you'll figure out as you go along. Any questions?
When do we eat?
You eat when we say you eat. You shit when we say you shit, and you piss when we say you piss. You got that, you on your feet.
I believe in two things, discipline and the Bible. Here you'll receive both. Put your trust in the Lord. Your ass belongs to me.
Inmates were contracted out to perform numerous jobs, like building railroads, quarrying granite for the new state capitol, harvesting sugarcane in Sugar Land, Texas, iron production. Work camps were found in forests to clear land and provide wood fuel. These harsh conditions gave rise to the prison work song.
I remember when I first came in prison, the boss wouldn't let me cut no wood. He asked me, "You ever cut no wood?" I said, "I've never cut no wood in my life." He said, "You put that axe down." I said, "It cuts wood here." I said, "You stand right there and I'll show you how they cut wood." And he hollered over Old Chime and said, "Old Chime, what's the saying, son?" He'd be singing the lead on Let the Hammer Ring, a variety of verses. And everybody be in chorus with it, Let the Hammer Ring, and all axes be dropping. And when the timber's on the ground, there'd be 300 axes dropping with it, all in harmony. That's something to hear. I'd never seen nothing like that in my life.
Reports of inmate abuse by field bosses continued to surface. Convicted murderer John Wesley Hardin wrote after a failed escape attempt, "My sides and back were bleeding into a jelly, and still quivering and bleeding, they made me walk in the snow across to another building, where they placed me in a dark cell and threatened to starve me. After serving 14 years, John Shotwell wrote, "Not until you have lived in rotting rags, eating what dogs would spurn, slaved beneath the goads, been cursed at in your misery, and mocked at in your despair, until spirit and body alike are broken and cowed can you know what it means to be a convict on a Texas farm." Bowing to public pressure, Governor Thomas Campbell by 1912 canceled all leases and returned inmates into the custody of the state and moved them behind the walls of the prison. Between 1880 and 1912, the prison system reported 3,119 escapes and 2,938 deaths that occurred during the lease program. With the aid of prison reform, today's prisons will look more like what Texas founders had envisioned in 1848.